This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Monday to everyone tuning in to us right now. You're listening to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. This is the one and only place where we bring you the latest in robotics, artificial intelligence, gadgets, and applications. All that you need to know about what's happening in the tech world, in the UAE, and around the world is being brought to you right here on Pulse 95. Lots and lots is in store on today's show, and we're once again talking all about WhatsApp. Now, as WhatsApp introduced their brand new privacy policy, one app was making use out of this backlash, and that is Signal. But was Signal able to handle the surge of users that have flown by to try and protect themselves from WhatsApp's brand new privacy policy? Sadly not, and we're going to be talking all about their outage and how they were able to resolve that. But in the world of smartphones, we're going to be talking about Apple because they are considering foldable iPhones, yet they have a little bit of a minor change that's going to be taking place with their 2021 models. On today's show, we're also talking all about emotional health and artificial intelligence. It's a very interesting mix whenever we talk about tech and psychology, but today we're going to be discussing how horses have a lot to do with our own mental well-being and how we can use artificial intelligence to basically help us find out how we deal with emotional struggles. Joining us today is an entrepreneur at the Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, Mr. Marc Herrero, who's going to be telling us all about how he was able to basically combine the analysis of our own emotions with interacting with horses in a controlled environment to help us predict our emotional behaviors. We have lots and lots in store on today's show, so keep Pulse 95 locked, and we'll be right back.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Your quick roundup of everything that is happening in the tech world, in the UAE and around the world. Today we're discussing all about WhatsApp and Signal's drama. Now, a lot of people were very worried whenever WhatsApp came out saying that they are going to be introducing a brand new update to their privacy policy, and that they were going to be sharing our data with both Facebook and Instagram. For those of you who don't know, WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram actually all belong to Marc Zuckerberg. And even though this is the first time a lot of people find out that WhatsApp is planning to share our data with both sister platforms, they have been doing that for some time now. However, a lot of people, once they found out about the new change in privacy policy, they were just running away from the platform all the way to go ahead and download Signal. And as a result, Signal actually saw a big rise in downloads. And a lot of people were very concerned that Signal may not handle such a big surge in users. And they were actually right. Now, this is not necessarily Signal's fault on its own, because we've also seen similar things happen with Zoom. The minute people started downloading Zoom, they actually faced a lot of privacy struggles, a lot of errors, simply because a lot of people were downloading it and they were not ready for such a big surge in people. So on the 15th of January, Signal actually faced an outage. It was a global outage. It affected anyone and everyone who downloaded the application. However, a few days later, Signal was actually able to restore its services just one day after it faced all those technical difficulties because of the flood of new users. Now, the biggest advantage of it all, even though they were facing a lot of technical difficulties, this did not impact the security of the chats. So the only issue that users faced were that, some of the chats that you were having with some of your loved ones and contacts were halted. Some people did not receive all the messages, and that error actually did not affect the security of the chat, which is the main highlight point that Signal was actually playing around with. Now, the nonprofit Signal Foundation, that is currently based in Silicon Valley, is actually overseeing the application's security and technical difficulties, and they were promising that the next update would give every user a seamless experience. Now, for those of you who don't know, Signal is actually the brainchild of WhatsApp's co-founder. So the co-founder of WhatsApp actually sold the company to another founder, and as a result, he went ahead and created Signal. So a lot of people may be a little bit weary when they find out that the person who created WhatsApp is still the person behind Signal. So is it as secure as we think it is? This is something that only time will tell. But let's move on to talk a little bit about what Apple is doing, because Samsung came out with its foldable iPhone, I think sometime last year, and a lot of people were just waiting on Apple to go ahead and copy that move, just like it did with the 5G connectivity and every other feature that Androids have launched. And soon enough, we will be getting Apple's first foldable iPhone. However, they are planning some minor changes for the 2021 models. They are currently discussing a number of screen sizes that they're going to be launching, and they're definitely going to be rivaling the similar devices from Samsung's company. Now, the California-based company is actually working on a prototype for all of their foldable screens that are currently only available for internal testing. We do know Apple loves its secrecy, but it has not necessarily solidified the plans to actually launch that foldable iPhones. We do know that a lot of analysts and people who follow up on Apple's patents were actually looking at what they were going to be up for. But the development work has not expanded beyond the display of the phone itself, which means that Apple does not have the full handset prototype in its labs, and it may just take a few years until we see the final product. Just like Samsung's Galaxy Fold, Apple is currently working on a device with a larger screen in a more pocketable package. This is one of the biggest concerns for people who actually bought the iPhone 12. The size is pretty large, does not necessarily fit into your pocket always, and this is what Apple is currently trying to work on, making the screen as large as possible, but at the same time as compact as possible. So they're currently working on different screen sizes, one that unfolds to a similar size as the 6.7-inch display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Current foldable phones tend to have screens that are between 6 and 8 inches, so we're looking at a very similar range, and all of those screens will be undergoing testing just like Samsung's phones did. Now, the testing is very important because the minute Samsung actually launched their foldable phones, they had to go ahead and retract some of them since they were causing a lot of issues for users. Now, having such foldable phones will definitely be very interesting for Apple to work on, and it would be a radical departure for Apple because they're the pioneers of touchable all-screen smartphones. So working on a foldable iPhone, even though for many people it may sound like it's years away because of COVID-19 and all the delays in research, the company is currently working on making it become a reality. Now, Apple is not planning major changes for this year's iPhone lineup if the foldable phones don't make it for the launch, but they are going to be working on the design and making sure that when it does come out, it would be spectacular. Let us know your thoughts. Would you be willing to buy a foldable phone coming right out of Apple, or would you rather stick to the sleek, well-known design that Apple always comes out with? Share your thoughts with us at 4215 Do It This a Lot, or slide into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio. Coming up, we have a very interesting conversation all about the merge between technology and psychology. We're going to be talking about how horses can actually help us learn a lot about ourselves, especially when we tie in machine learning and artificial intelligence into the mix. We're going to be joined by an entrepreneur at Sharjah's Research, Technology and Innovation Park. Marc Herrero will be telling us all about it. So if you have any questions, make sure you send them in, and we'll be seeing you in just a few moments.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Anyone who owns a horse or who has gone horse riding talks about their therapeutic value. I mean, just looking at these creatures, being able to care for them reduces our stress, lowers our blood pressure, and overall improves our health. The power of this relationship is huge, and it has definitely been lost by a lot of medical health professionals. But what if we could incorporate our interaction with horses with machine learning to help us learn more about our emotional health? Joining us today is an entrepreneur at the Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, Mr. Marc Herrero, who's going to be telling us all about what he has done to be able to bring technology and psychology into one. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Marc.
No, thank you very much to all of you. It's an absolutely pleasure to be here, and especially with that incredible vision that Mr. Hussein Mahmoudi from SRTIP has about the future and how we can build that amazing future. So you're right. So we are coming from the horse interaction, and from that horse interaction, it's just unbelievable how such a sensitive animal can help us to learn more about us, not only about us, but also about the surroundings. So it was our initiative together with Elizabeth, my wife, and the co-founder of the company, 4 years ago, about deciding to focus on how we can take full advantage of the interaction with the horse and mixing that experiential interaction plus the depth psychology, so how the brain processes in a very depth methodology the information and the emotions. We can realize through that interaction how we can be more aware of our reactions, or how we can be more effective or productive.
Absolutely. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I mean anyone who's lived right here in the UAE would know that the horses are actually a very big part of the culture and tradition and heritage. We've seen it, we've seen the relationship between humans and horses across decades, start out and continue. Can you talk to us a little bit about the reason why you chose the horse as the creature for humans to interact with as you map out their brain waves and brain signals, rather than picking any other animal?
Well, as you mentioned, there are many amazing animals, but especially the horse. It's an incredible, such a sensitive animal. So this sensitivity helps us to be with no judgment and see and be aware of the reaction. So through this reaction, you can realize about that sometimes there are many things that is not going on and in the right way. So from this understanding, for us it's easier to catch up that reaction of the horse like a mirror. So if you see yourself in a mirror, so in that case, after following very concrete steps on the interaction, you can realize about those depth patterns that many times it's not helping you in your life. So connected to classical therapeutical questions, we can improve in a much better and faster way the process of learning and reducing the time of therapy, or reducing any time of coaching, or this kind of therapies that you can face at these moments.
It's interesting that you mentioned this because, especially during the year 2020, a lot of people have gone to therapy. They've invested more in life coaches simply because staying at home has given everyone a chance to be alone with their thoughts, which could be a beneficial, process, but at the same time, it could definitely be a terrifying one. Can you talk to us a little bit about how machine learning and artificial intelligence came into the mix, and how can we use it to predict emotional behaviors?
Well, absolutely. In that case, we have an amazing team of tech and engineers as well, and they are helping us to scale exactly that dream that we have that we had from 4 years ago, and now we have to become global. And from that perspective, we are just applying everything that we learned from the interaction face-to-face with the horse. So learning that solutions, that answers that many times are difficult to transfer to concrete data and objective data, they are helping us to train the algorithms. So you know that machine learning is like a kid, so you need to train that algorithms, you need to train that data and process that data in a certain way. So from this understanding, we are capturing all the knowledge we had and all the methodology we developed during the 4 years, and we are training the algorithms from a very high-level perspective.
It's interesting that you mentioned the face-to-face interactions, because for many people and in many cultures, certain, let's say, face expressions mean different things. So some people may not even smile, but they are happy on the inside. And other people may be hurting on the inside, but nothing is showing on their face as a facial expression. So how do you deal with this very intricate language whenever we're talking about emotions? And how can AI and algorithms recognize these patterns?
Well, it's interesting that you are mentioning that, because worldwide there are many companies doing this, so through the facial recognition to recognize emotions, but the emotions are cultural. So how you represent that emotions is totally cultural. Of course, we are focusing on the depth patterns that generates or trigger that emotions. And through this triggering of emotions, how you behave. So we are going depth. Yeah, absolutely. So from this understanding, the idea is once again training the best in a better way the algorithms from a perspective that each human being, based on how they feel and or what they represent or what they act or what they behave, we can trigger immediately which are the emotions they are feeling. Okay, beside the expression or the cultural expression, because many times we saw that the people has some kind of inhibition, so they don't want to represent they are happy or they are sad, but they are struggling or they are extremely happy. So understanding how that heart rate behavior or neuroactivity behavior or how someone is behaving in a given scenario, we can mix all of this data and predict if actually the user is feeling sad or feeling happy.
That's interesting that you mentioned, because especially in today's day and age, we've seen facial recognition technology be basically implemented everywhere and anywhere. Everyone is depending on it as if it's a lifeline and a recipe to read someone's emotions and thoughts. But your technology is proving to be different. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking all about what inspired Mr. Marc Herrero to come up with this idea, but also how the interaction with the horse helps with these predictions. What type of sensors do they use? If you have any questions for Mr. Marc Herrero, make sure you send them in at 4215 do it Salat or sign into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Horses are extremely special creatures. They are majestic, they are strong, but they can also display a wide range of emotions. Whether they're around humans or even other horses, they can definitely thrive in social settings. And this is part of the reason why horses can actually develop such a strong bond with us humans. Today, we're talking all about the merge between technology and psychology. How can we use horses to learn more about our emotions, and where does artificial intelligence come into the mix? Joining us today is entrepreneur at Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, Marc Herrero, who's been telling us all about this interesting concept of mapping out our brainwaves, learning more about how we deal with our emotions by interacting with horses. Thank you so much for joining us, Marc, once again. Marc, can you talk to us a little bit about the interaction that we have with the horses? And as our brain signals are being mapped, how does this help us to learn more about ourselves beyond that physical interaction that's currently taking place with the horse?
Thank you very much once again. So, well, beyond that, so the idea is exactly what we are focusing at this moment at the SRTIP with Mr. Hussein and all of his team. It's about to research and all the potential scenarios that we can create beyond the interaction with the horse. So the idea is recreate and apply in all the industries, all the knowledge and all the researches that we are doing, only focusing and always focusing on emotional data analysis, which is our file. So imagine that any kind of potential file where we can apply emotions, which is almost everything. We can give some value. So improving or accelerating the process of education for kids, reducing human error on the driving, being much more precise on pilot capacitation. So it's only those examples that we can apply our knowledge.
Absolutely. And with such scenarios, basically, let's say the child or the person interacts with the horse and their brain signals are being mapped out. So can you talk to us a little bit about what sensors or how exactly are the brain waves and brain signals being mapped out? What technology is lying behind it? Well,
there are many technologies, but we have one of our files of research at this moment focusing on the right devices to do so. So we can talk about any kind of wearable you can imagine. For example, grasping heart rate, grasping neuroactivity, grasping algorithms behavior. So many times it's about how you are solving some certain scenario. In the case of the horse, it's about how you're solving that interaction with the horse. But on the other side, you can be, I don't know, how you solve a maths problem if you are a kid learning. So many times it's about all the different things that you can analyze but you are not conscious or you are not aware, but the algorithms are.
It's crazy because these algorithms can dig way deeper beyond the interaction that you have with the horse. Can you talk to us maybe about a little bit about the findings? So what are some of the interesting findings that you found as people were interacting with the horses? What were you able to learn about the people, standing right in front of the horse, things that they may have not known about themselves in the moment?
Well, there are many examples, but many times it's about, especially for leaders or CEOs or chairmen, so those people who are having a huge responsibility in front of many people. It's about many times they don't understand why some certain order or some certain communication is interpreted in a completely different way, or even tougher, or even non-productive as they expected. So when they realize about with the interaction with the horse, when they realize that it's not about what they are saying, but how and all the intensity they are projecting, they are aware that they need to take care about that intensity, many times in negotiations as well, because it's about how you module that intensity or how you can be much more precise about what you are saying, and important how you are saying that.
It's interesting that you mentioned this because, what you do is something that a lot of people can simply do, but how you deliver the message is where the magic happens. It's also interesting because, as you've mentioned, emotions lie in almost everything that we do, whether it was in school or in college, in our workplace, and dealing with other people. So can you talk to us a little bit about how the algorithms can actually process and analyze the data? Can they predict the problematic unconscious triggers in people's interactions with the horse?
So as you know, machine learning at the end is a black box, okay?
Yeah.
So we need to consider machine learning as a small part of artificial intelligence, which actually is not intelligence at this moment. But this process of machine learning needs two different sources of information. The first one is the solution, the answers, so which is, or in our case, it's all the method and all the data we already grasp and analyze during the last 4 years in face-to-face therapy, and plus all the new challenges that you want to improve or you want to obtain some certain solution, which is the outcome. Okay, so you put in that black box the solutions plus the challenges you want to solve, and finally, after a huge process of hidden layers, you can obtain resolution. So this resolution is what you can consider the result of machine learning or deep learning process.
Absolutely. Now, one thing a lot of people tend to know about, machine learning or artificial intelligence is the fact that they train on patterns. And some people may be listening and thinking, but I don't show my emotions like any other person does. So how can AI and machine learning get smarter as they go with dealing with people's emotions? And is there any point where the machine stops learning about the new patterns of emotions?
Well, it's not stopping because they are always learning as we as a humans are learning. So machine learning is inspired in neuroscience or in the behavior of the neurons. Okay, they more or less are inspired in the same way. As much neuroscience advances, as we can see a huge advantage in machine learning because they are applying exactly the same procedures. So the recognition of these patterns, machine learning is boosting that process. Okay, so if you have much more data, you can be much more accurate on the recognition of the patterns. So the process of learning is about not having raw data, but having concrete data analyzed through these patterns. So through if you remember the solutions of the black box, so mixing all of these all of these solutions, they boost the capacity of acquiring the right pattern. And through this pattern, you can realize about how you can improve some scenario or some situation, some emotion. And as soon as you recognize that emotion in that concrete user, you can deliver a much better, much more precise learning process, for example.
Absolutely. Now, some people may be thinking, is there any room for error? How accurate is this mapping of every single person's emotions? And after the the brain signals are mapped and we know a little bit more about our emotions, how can people actually work on themselves to better their responses?
Well, the accuracy of the algorithms is always something tricky.
Yeah.
Because of course you can measure about the percentage of success acquiring that pattern, no? Or predict that pattern. The loss function, which is the function that realize the training of the algorithm, always helps you when they have much more data. But when the solution comes when you can be much more precise about that process of data learning. So imagine that we have that pattern very clear, and from these clear patterns we can start designing a new scenario. Okay, so that scenario always is based on what is much more appealing to you, because if I show something that doesn't excite you, that means you are not acquiring, you are not experiencing something new, and your learning is not motivated to do so. So the idea is always analyzing that accuracy of the patterns based on the data we are acquiring, but at the same time delivering the right information or the right scenario that gives you some kind of excitement into your learning process.
Absolutely. And I think that also is what makes it very personalized to every single human being.
Exactly.
No one's experience with such a machine or such AI would be similar to another. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking all about the future of this technology in this field, and also where can you go ahead and see this technology come to life. If you have any questions for Marc Herrero, make sure you send them our way at 4215 Do It Salat or slide into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
This is Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Whenever we talk about artificial intelligence on the show, a lot of people tend to be afraid and weary that AI is going to be coming up and taking over our jobs. And a lot of the times we hear some of the biggest tech giants, one of them being Jack Ma, talk about how important it is to have emotional intelligence and to focus on our soft skills. Today, we're talking about one technology that will help us do just that. And it's all based on the interaction that we have with horses. The merge between technology and psychology is coming to life as we map our brain signals by interacting with horses. Joining us today is an entrepreneur at Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, Mr. Marc Herrero, who has been definitely digging deeper into our conscious and letting us know how we can better predict our emotional responses. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marc. Can you talk to us a little bit about, what caused you to come up with this idea and what future do you see for it?
Thank you very much once again. The inspiration about everything, or our dream is to promote self-awareness in the society. As much self-awareness you can feel and you can have in the society will help to be or to broadcast much more precise and profound understanding of the emotions, which are almost everything in our life. So even though Descartes said, so I think, so I exist. So neuroscience now at this moment is saying completely the opposite, actually. So you feel, so that you exist, and then you can think. But first of all, you feel. So if you are a baby, so the first thing is it's you are feeling, not thinking, because your brain is not ready.
It's all the emotions, and because we don't understand their emotions, that's how mothers struggle with understanding what they need.
Exactly. So that's the idea. So when we are talking about the unconscious mind, which is something that it's a little bit complex as artificial intelligence, how you mentioned it, it's about all the things that created your personality and your identity, and many times it's about, or it's coming from long time ago. So this understanding is helping that process.
100%. And a lot of the times you go through so many experiences that you don't think would affect you. You don't know that they're affecting you, but in reality they are, and they're impacting basically every other relationship in your life, whether it was work or even in your personal life. Can you talk to us a little bit about the future of this technology? Where do you see it going? And do you think it will be helping out adults and children understand themselves a little bit better?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a little bit visionary about how I feel and how I see the future. But the most important thing is all the initiative that Mr. Hussein and SRTIP is doing, helping companies like us in researching and developing that kind of technology, which creates the future and actually the present. So there are many opportunities that you can see. There are many, like for example, at this moment we are transforming the retail industry from a perspective that instead of transactional, so I mean instead of going to a shop, buy something that someone said that you need that, it's about to realize and be aware what exactly stuff you need. So you need to live an interaction, you need to experiment something based on depth patterns, depth psychology perspective, playful, something that you can enjoy from a leisure perspective, but it's helping you to choose the right product. So imagine you have a list of 500 products, and after that interaction you realize that finally you have 3 products to choose, which are exactly the products you need.
Wow, so it's like creating an experience out of purchasing something.
Exactly. So this is one of the things that we are doing and how we are applying into real, tangible things all of our efforts and researches. The other thing is about developing a training program for kids, so accelerating the process, especially focusing on gifted kids, so how they can learn faster and better. So I mean, many times it's not about following just one line.
One size fits all learning.
Right, exactly. So instead of, there are many because we are human. So for each human may exist something different. And our effort is just to deliver the right strategy for each individual for accelerating the learning process, and something very important, to reduce the time waste.
Absolutely. And especially when you discuss, the way gifted kids learn, a lot of the times they may be very talented. They're very gifted in one area of life, but because we don't have the right skills and the right techniques to understand how they're gifted, we may not be able to put that into good use.
Exactly. So they have an asynchronic development, which means many times they are super focused in something and solve some challenge, but they are forgiving many times, or they are forgetting many things related to emotions or social skills. There are this opportunity in where we can personalize the learning process, and from this learning process we can improve and reduce the time. Because this is the most important thing. Why you need to spend almost one quarter of your life at the school? So why not we can deliver with all the technology a better, much more precise system for acquiring the knowledge you need for start your life, actually.
100%. Why spend 12 years in school only then to go ahead and do it again in university, and then you go out to the real life and people tell you, put aside everything you've learned, the real life is totally different.
Exactly.
And this is, I think, part of the reason why you are actually working on a brand new strategy to actually partnership with schools right here in the UAE. Is that right?
Exactly. So we are partnering with all the team. We are establishing partners agreements, not only with the schools, which is something that is an incredible opportunity, but also with many companies that want to transform the world in a perspective that, in a shared perspective, let's say, because our main goal, once again, is about to promote or design interactions to promote self-awareness. What means being authentically with your client. So forget about your egocentric vision. No. It's about how you can solve better your client's needs. So this is what we are doing, basically, helping our partners or being with our partners to give a much more precise understanding of what they need.
100%. And self-awareness is a gift that no one can put a price to. Thank you so much, Marc Herrero, for joining us today and letting us know more about the merge between technology and psychology.
It's an absolutely pleasure. Thank you very much to all of you, and I hope to be here often. Thank you very much.
Hopefully you will, and we wish you the best of luck in all of your future endeavors. To everyone tuning in to us right now, thank you so much for lending us your ears for the hour. Future Talk is coming to an end, but you can catch us again later, same time, same place tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Until then, we're going to be opening the airwaves for the only place to be at 3, the halftime show with Omar Al-Douri. He's going to be giving you even a much deeper perspective on our mental health, physical health, as well as our emotional well-being. It is a show that you do not want to miss. I wish you a fantastic afternoon. Stay blessed, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.